Yes, guys. So, as usual, a pleasant good evening. Yours truly, Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director at Batson and Associates, where we support your health naturally. So, this live, of course, that we having this evening is a continuation of the two programs that we would have done before, where we focus on hormonal disruption in women. So tonight's discussion, we're gonna have some. It is question and answer, and we're gonna basically focus on uh, a number of issues that are actually being experienced by a number of women uh, throughout. Hormonal disruption continues to play a significant role in changing the lives of a number of women as it relates to that whole issue of hormonal imbalance. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a situation where we're dealing with a female who has problems with menopause, who is premenopause, postmenopause, uh, and so on, simply because that whole menopausal issue or that hormonal disruption could actually continue long after menopause. And the last two discussions that we had really highlighted that. And this five-part series that we're having, which is going to take place every Monday night from 8 to 9:30. It depends on the amount of questions we get. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Miss Camille James. Keep in mind we are live on our social media platforms. We are Batson and Associates Limited on Facebook. On YouTube, we are Batson and Associates Trinidad. And as I said before, we're discussing hormonal disruption in women. Now, one of the things we like to recap based on discussions that we would have had before is that whole issue of understanding what hormonal disruption is and understanding that you can have hormonal disruption taking place at any stage of a female's life. So once a female has begun her cycle, experiencing a menstrual cycle, then she is in a situation where she could end up with hormonal imbalance or hormonal disruption. How do I mean? Or what do I mean rather? So take, for example, a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old who has started to see their menstrual cycle. Now, the possibility exists that at the beginning or the inception or the genesis of that cycle, they experience pain and significant pain too as well, because a lot of women do experience some pain, some slight discomfort during the menstrual cycle, but it becomes even more problematic when you have a very young female who's experiencing a number of other issues, and those issues in themselves could be a number of things. It could be a very painful menstrual cycle, a very irregular cycle. So, it doesn't come month to month or based on the amount of days that it's supposed to come. It could also be a situation where they actually are diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a serious issue that a lot of young ladies experience. And hormonal polycystic ovarian syndrome rather could actually create or cause significant issues as it relates to females. So that's the discussion that we're having this evening. Keep in mind it is a question and answer session where we would of course be taking a number of questions. As I said, we are live on our social media platforms. We are live on Facebook. We are Batson Associates Limited. On YouTube, we are Batson and Associates Trinidad. You're listening to Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director of Batson and Associates, where we support your health naturally. So good. So we know what hormones are. Hormones are chemical messengers that basically instruct the body to do certain things. So we know that hormones are governed primarily by the endocrine system. So of course, thyroid, parathyroid, pituitary, adrenal glands, and so on and so on. So on and so forth, rather. So it means now that when you're dealing with hormonal disruption in women, more mature women, then the discussion takes a slight turn. And that is nothing to be ashamed or to, to feel any type of way about it. This is information and good information, and that we're providing for you. As a trained clinician for over 14 years now, I have experienced and I've dealt with a lot of women with various hormonal imbalance challenges, which would have led to things like infertility, very painful hormonal or very painful menstrual cycle. As it relates to even the menopause aspect, one of the serious challenges or misconceptions that a lot of women have is that they believe that once they have gone through menopause, then hormones are no longer something that should be taken into consideration. And that is quite sad, because that is not the case, because you could actually find women as they get older, the hormonal disruption can become worse, because you often find that women who are premenopause, menopause, and even long after menopause, postmenopause, they can have serious hormonal imbalance issues. Good. Those can range from insomnia, so serious problems sleeping. It can also okay, Miss Jack. I'm very glad to hear that. Miss Jack said, okay, Miss Jack, noted. She had an appointment on Thursday. No bread. Yeah, so you need to give the bread a little rest. And the thing is, in that case, often a lot of times, when you're dealing with hormonal disruption, as regards to the discussion that we're having, you find women very unhappy. They're lost. They don't know what to do. And, as a clinician, it's very difficult to see a human being going through something like that. This hormonal disruption can cause serious problems in marriages where, wives cannot perform their duty, the marital duty, as it relates to intimacy in their relationship, because these women just don't feel to be intimate at all. They're going to become very annoyed, very moody, and a lot of persons don't understand how difficult that could be for a female to deal with, simply because the body is not functioning the way that it should. She's not thinking the way that she should. She's not behaving the way that she should. She is not sleeping the way that she should. It can reach a point where they become very emotional. So you often find women who have serious hormonal disruption suffer from serious mood swings. So one minute you're good with everyone, and then the next minute you find you're in a serious situation where you're very moody, you're not in the mood for persons. It could also lead to issues associated even with depression, or even serious problems associated with anxiety. So you find a lot of women now anxious, and you have situations where you're getting panic attacks. So all those we're going to discuss, and discuss how we at Batson and Associates will actually be able to help you in that situation. Ms. Jack says, what can I eat besides bread? Ms. Jack, there are a number of things that you can eat besides bread. What you're looking at, you're looking for more complex carbohydrates as opposed to simple carbohydrates. So to translate, you could use things like you could use things with like in the grain family. So you could use like things like chickpeas, or what we call chana. You could use quinoa. You could use provisions. If you are using bread, because I am not necessarily one of those who completely condemn bread. I mean, too much of bread is definitely going to be problematic. But of course, I tell persons, when you're using bread, you can actually use like the sourdough bread, or you could use the Ezekiel bread, or you could use maybe a whole grain bread that you yourself can prepare. And of course, when you're doing, you don't want to use bread as a staple, in the sense that a lot of persons will eat bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, simply because it's very easy. It's easy to make a sandwich, that type of thing. But what is easy sometimes can actually put you in problems later on. Okay, yes, definitely your next appointment would be with myself as well as Mr. Green, where I'll actually review and look at the improvements or what you would have experienced over the period of time as regards to using the products that would have been recommended. Good. So you're listening to Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director at Batson and Associates. We have those telephone numbers there. Keep in mind, those telephone numbers again are 222-8261 as well as 3149975. You can always call. 3149975 is actually a WhatsApp contact. And you could, of course, get that necessary information, make your appointment, to see exactly what's going on, and most importantly, fix this hormonal disruption. So that's why we decided to do this series on hormonal disruption. Keep in mind as well our symposium that we're having, which is going to be open to the public. That symposium, of course, is going to be taking place on Sunday, the 25th of August, at the Chagonas office. That office, of course, is located on the first floor of Money Talks building in Montrose, Chagonas, and that is 182 Montrose Main Road, Chagonas. Look out for the registration link to register. That link is going to be placed on our social media. You can also call and come to that symposium there. You could register with any of the numbers that we have there, the 222-8261, which is the landline. And of course, you could also WhatsApp the 3149975. Miss Jack says, no, I just eat bread once my next appointment is the 30th of August. Okay, not, right, good. So, you know, in that whole situation there, you know, it's a matter of, you know, really rectifying that situation. Miss Melville is asking, good night, when are we going to get Nerve Restore in Tobago? As far as I know, Nerve Restore is Tobago is supposed to have Nerve Restore, Miss Melville. Did you call the office? If you did, in fact, call the office, because I was there a little while ago, or based on what I would have seen, I don't know if it's finished as yet, but definitely we'll be getting Nerve Restore Mountain here, as well as some of the other products that we have for you guys for a little while. Inflammation formula for Tobago, as well as I know Santulan as well. We should be getting Santulan, God's willing, by the end of this, before this month is out. We should have that in stock. Okay, Donlo says, good evening, Dr. Batson and listeners. So, Miss Melville, as I said, we should have Nerve Restore in Tobago. You can always give Latoya a call and find out. If it doesn't have, well, then we're going to get over to Tobago by the end of the month, God's willing. Okay, which is just now. Today is the 22nd. Okay, guys, we are discussing hormonal disruption in women. Keep in mind, it is an open forum. Take advantage of the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. It doesn't necessarily have to be about what we Oh, okay, so you went and there was none. Okay, my apologies. Because I know she had opted recently. So no problem. We will get this month here, and we will ensure that you are able to get your supply. Of course, Miss Latoya will ensure that she calls you when it arrives at the office. My apologies where that is concerned. Good. So when we're speaking about hormonal disruption, you know, Nerve Restore is actually one of the products that I usually recommend. And the reason for that is that that product has the ability to basically settle your nerves. And I'm not saying that jokingly, because it really does do that, simply because it has the ability to assist in, one, it helps sleep. It helps to actually correct your sleep patterns. The thing is, a lot of persons actually sleep, but they don't really get the quality of sleep that they should be getting. And that's why I tell persons that you often find that there are a number of persons who tend to be sleep deprived, where they you know, they actually, because of the number of years of not sleeping properly and not getting that proper quality of sleep, you find that there are persons from the central nervous system aspect, they tend to be sleep deprived. And as a result of that, it is very easy for them to end up with neurological problems. So, i.e., things like Parkinson, things like depression, anxiety, issues associated with insomnia. So, you know, the thing is, a lot of people sleep, but the quality of sleep that they get you know, it is not the best quality of sleep. Okay, again, let me say a pleasant good afternoon or good evening to Justin Victor. Miss Shireen Jack says, well, he in sell me, he in sell me no nerve restore. Miss Jack used trouble, you know. Don't worry. Maybe he didn't realize that you needed the nerve restore as yet, or maybe because you see the thing is, remember, a lot of clients when they come to us, they have a number of issues that they may be dealing with, right? And then we actually have to. So what we really do is work with the root or the foundation aspects of the body. So we tend to deal with those foundation organ systems. Based on the laws of anatomy and physiology, you have 11 organ systems in the body, which would include your central nervous system, your musculoskeletal system, gastrointestinal system, respiratory system, your integumentary system, your sexual reproductive system, and the list goes on. We have 10 that are basically the same in common, and the only difference really is the sexual reproductive organs, of course, as it relates, and system as it relates to male and female. However, we are still dealing with things like hormones and those type of things. So you often find with that whole situation, as it relates to hormonal imbalance challenges, you often find that a number of individuals would tend to now be able to gain benefit from that. If you're talking about circulation, well, okay, circulation is a pressing issue that a number of persons have. You know, I often tell persons when you have swelling in the ankles, when you have swelling in the feet, especially on a consistent basis. So when you get up in the morning, your feet tends to be nice and flat and looking all, you know, sexy. And later in the day, they just swollen, you know, especially by the ankles, the instep. Some persons even going up all the calf area, sorry, you find that they get swelling. So that, of course, is an indication of serious poor circulation that could, of course, lead to a lot of other issues. And those other issues, of course, could be numerous, you know, where you actually end up in situations where you have poor peripheral circulation. You could end up in situations where you end up with neuropathy challenges. So neuropathy is actually nerve damage that is caused as a result of poor circulation. And that is usually a situation that you find to be quite common with diabetics. You don't necessarily have to be a diabetic to have poor circulation, but usually all diabetics have poor circulation or run the risk of having poor circulation issues. Good. So of course that is something that we could deal with for you. And of course, you know, that we will ensure that we give you the results that you're looking for. Circulation regeneration tea is actually one of the circulation products that we carry. That's actually this product that is right in the back of me here. Very nice tasting tea, easy to use. We don't necessarily give it to anyone or everyone who has situations associated with poor circulation, simply because the circulation regeneration tea is also recommended for persons who have hypertension, because there are a lot of persons who have poor circulation, but they may not necessarily have hypertension. And of course, you have different types of hypertension. You have primary hypertension, you have secondary hypertension, and you also have, you can have poor pulmonary, you have pulmonary circulation, systemic circulation, and peripheral circulation. So you have various types of circulation in the body, and of course, you also have situations where that circulation could actually affect a number of things. It makes it very easier for you to end up with strokes, whether it's a hemorrhagic stroke or ischemic stroke. It also makes it easy for you to end up with serious renal problems. At Batson and Associates, we do an integrative kidney clinic or renal clinic, simply because there are a number of persons who have serious issues associated with renal health. And as a result of that, or as a result of the poor circulation issue, you find that macro circulation is affected. So that circulation as it relates to the heart, the organs, and then you have micro circulation, which is affected, which is circulation in the extremities, tips of your fingers, tips of your feet, those types of situations. So in situations like that, it is always good, or it is always important to really look at the root cause of those problems. And that's one of the things that we do at Batson Associates. Apart from the consultation that we give, we also give that live nutritional blood cell analysis scan. We also give the magnetic resonance analysis scan, where we actually have the ability to now determine from an organ level, what is the condition of the organs. We also actually able to look at the body from its holistic perspective, where we actually able to look at this thing. We actually able to look at what is known as biological terrain. So we actually have the ability now to actually determine how much or how high oxidative stress is in the body. Good. And that, of course, oxidative stress and oxidation is one of the key components or the key drivers of disease. Inflammatory response as well. You would hear now in more recent time a lot of individuals talking about inflammation, inflammatory response. And the reason for that is that inflammation or inflammatory response is actually the root cause of all disease. So this hormonal disruption issues that we're discussing here with women, a lot of times it has to do with that whole aspect of imbalance and high levels of inflammatory response in the body. So that's something that we're going to continue discussing. We are discussing hormonal disruption, and you're listening to Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director of Batson and Associates. So feel free, of course, to like us, share us. This is a 5-part series that we're doing. We actually have 2 more. So this is the 3rd, because we actually missed the Monday the 15th, and that was due to circumstances beyond our control. So we had to do it Wednesday night. So we ended up doing it the 17th. And then, of course, we have this one and 2 subsequent to this. Keep in mind, too, that symposium that we're having, which is going to be taking place, God's willing, the 25th of August at our head office in Chaguanas. That's 182 Montrose Main Road, Chaguanas. And of course, we are also looking at that the next symposium that we want to have, which God's willing, we're going to decide exactly when that is taking place. It would most likely be either the first week in September or the end of September, and that is going to be taking place for the Port of Spain area. So stay tuned. You're going to have more updates as regards to that. Keep in mind as well that Nerve Restore. And the thing is, if it is you would have come for the Nerve Restore during this time when we actually had the special or the special price, especially Miss Melville, we will ensure that you get it at that price based on what we would have promised you guys. Good. The balanced circulation as well, that we also having a promotion with the balanced circulation, and that balanced circulation promotion is going to be taking place. I know that is a product that's actually one of the favorites with our clients. A number of favorites, but that balanced circulation really does some great work as it relates to assisting with a number of issues as it relates to poor circulation, pins and needles, cramping in your calves, burning under your feet, that type of thing. The circulation regeneration is also a great product as regards to improving blood circulation in the body, and of course as it relates to in the extremities. So when we're discussing hormonal disruption, what really is hormonal disruption? So as I would have said before, hormonal disruption or hormonal imbalance is an indication or an issue where you have excessive, you either have too much of one or too little. So let me give you an example. So for example, women could experience serious problems with their thyroid. So what is the purpose of the thyroid? The thyroid has numerous functions. One of the purpose or functions of the thyroid is actually to remove calcium from the bones where it is stored and release or have it released into the bloodstream, where it has to basically maintain a certain level of alkalinity as it relates to blood. Because your blood is slightly alkaline, is about 7.3. Oxygenated blood, deoxygenated blood just vary by maybe 0.5 as relates to that. So when you're looking at the thyroid has a lot of various functions. The thing is, if you have hypothyroidism or low thyroid function, that can actually contribute to a number of issues. So someone who has hypothyroidism or low thyroid function is going to experience a number of things. You're going to find it's very difficult for you to lose weight. So it's very easy for you to put on fat around the intestines, around the belly, around your legs, your buttocks, that type of thing. Or you could have the extreme now where you have hyperthyroidism or high thyroid function. So you actually have serious high levels or excessive thyroid function. So in a case like that now, you could find the thyroid is producing too much TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, T3, sorry, and T4, which are other aspects that is actually produced, or other hormones that is actually produced by the thyroid. So those are some of the markers that they will look for as it relates to thyroid health. Now, anyone who's trained in endocrinology would know that if you have a problem associated with the thyroid, one of the things that we always assist our clients in doing is, to really bring back balance to those organs in the endocrine system. So that is something to pay very, very close attention to. Feel free to, of course, call, make an appointment, and, have an opportunity to really experience our integrative hormonal clinic, because that is the clinic that we operate, or one of the clinics where we actually do an integrative hormonal treatment for women who have serious hormonal disruption. Because as I said before, hormonal disruption in women, or what is known as post-menopause, and this is something that was never really discussed. It's something that I never heard. I mean, based on the experience that I have dealing with the number of clients, number of women that I would normally deal with, it is very important that, women really pay attention to their hormones, especially as you start to, get older, or you get more mature, and you start to experience things like menopause. Because the menopause is one issue, we could deal with that. If you know anyone who having serious issues with menopause, send them to Batson Associates. You have serious issues with perimenopause, before menopause, send them to us. You have serious issues after menopause, which is usually the worst kind to deal with, send them to Batson and Associates. Ms. Elizabeth Mary says, good evening, Dr. Batson and Associates. Would you reiterate the importance of movement as we age? Sitting is trending these days. Of course, I'm a big advocate of exercise. Now, the thing is, Miss Mary, and thanks so very much for that question. A lot of persons fail to understand the importance of being active. I remember looking at a study that they would have done, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and this study was done in the United Kingdom. And one of the things they was trying to help the elderly in the UK to understand, they were trying to encourage them to, not necessarily take the car when you're going to shopping, especially if the supermarket is very close to where you live. They was actually encouraging them to actually, get those little baskets and go to the supermarket and actually walk, from the supermarket to home, and from home to the home to the supermarket, and then the supermarket to home. And they were trying to help them to do that, basically to encourage exercise, to encourage proper movement. Because the reason for that, for example, is that when you continue to move and remain active, it really assists you. One of the things it assists you with is your bowel movement, because inactive people tend to have serious issues, because you find that your colon constantly needs stimuli, and that stimuli is one of the things that helps to stimulate the colon is exercise. Apart from water, drinking sufficient amounts of water, being or remaining properly hydrated, you find that those are some of the things that could actually assist in dealing with that whole issue of bowel movement and having movement in general. So, exercise, and the thing is, you can always do exercise even as a more mature individual, because a lot of people think well, you know, I'm older. If I go and do exercise now, I could damage my bones. And okay, nobody is saying that you don't need to be careful, but inactivity is worse than death itself. I'll repeat that. Inactivity is worse than death itself, or can actually lead to death, because when you are inactive, your bones, your muscles, you know, your those, that movement. Remember the saying, a body at rest remains at rest, a body in motion remains in motion. If you buy a vehicle, regardless of the quality of the vehicle, regardless of the type of vehicle that it is, if you do not move, if you do not drive that vehicle, and that vehicle remains parked up there, what is going to happen? You're going to end up with a lot of problems. You're going to have, the tire is going to seize, it is going to dry rot, the engine, all those tubes that have to carry various things to different parts of the engine, those things are going to seize up. They're going to get very hard. They could get leaks simply because of inactivity or lack of actually using using that vehicle. So the same can apply to the human body as it relates to not exercising or not actually having proper movement. So that's something that you need to pay very, very close attention to. So, Miss Mary, I totally agree with you. The pools are also very good now because we know that actually helps with the joints. It also helps with you know, so you don't have much pressure on the knees. So, you know, like the little aqua aerobics, those type of things are very good to do. One of the things we do at Batson Associates, of course, I'm a big advocate of detoxes, huge advocate. I remember someone telling me recently that a doctor told them that they don't need to detox, the body detoxes itself. And I found that was so, I mean, that's almost a rhetorical, I wouldn't even, but it wasn't a question, but it really is nonsensical in the sense that it really doesn't give you the opportunity to really bring about that whole change, that movement in the body. So, you know, keep that in mind. Feel free to give us a call or visit. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Miss Betty Phillip. And of course, all our listeners and viewers. You're listening to Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director at Batson and Associates, where we take care of your health or support your health naturally. This evening, we are discussing hormonal disruption in women. We are discussing issues associated with polycystic ovarian syndrome, issues associated with weight gain as a result of hormonal imbalance, because a lot of women, as I always say, you could be doing the best things. You know, a lot of women would go to the gym, they would exercise, they go and run in the park. So you're trying, you're doing things. However, you find that you're not getting the benefit. You're not seeing the tummy going down. You're not seeing, you know, you're burning the fat. You might be working your legs in the gym and you find the cellulite is still there. You know, all those are indications or can be caused by serious hormonal disruption. So as much as you're working on the weight and you're working on that whole aspect with your with the resistance exercises and, you know, bringing up your heart rate and that type of thing, which is excellent, but you also need to deal with that hormonal imbalance issue, which is affected or which affects so many different women. So you might be asking the question, how do I know as a female that I have hormonal imbalance? What you could do, you could look at your age. If you are, you know, let's say you would have gone through menopause 10 years ago, and all of a sudden you're experiencing elevated blood pressure, you're experiencing problems with sleep, so problems falling asleep, remaining asleep, you're experiencing bouts of anxiety or bouts of ill feelings, feeling of inadequacy, extreme tiredness, boredom, just you want to be isolated, you just want to be locked up in a room, you don't want to speak to people, that type of thing. That could be an early sign of problems with hormonal disruption. In addition to that as well, if you're having problems with extreme weakness in your feet, that is also one of the signs of extreme hormonal disruption. Excessive weight gain, especially as I mentioned in the abdomen area, in the legs, the thighs, that is something also to pay very close attention to. In addition to that as well, panic attacks. A lot of women, you feel like if your heart racing off, And a lot of these women who actually have this heart racing, you go to the doctor and sometimes they do echocardiograms. They're actually looking, thinking it's a heart issue when it is not a heart issue. It is actually a central nervous system issue. And that is something that a lot of women need to pay attention to. So those of you listening to this program, we helped a number of women with this issue. We do an integrative hormonal program, and that integrative hormonal program actually addresses things like polycystic ovaries, issues associated with menopause. So things like the hot flashes, problems with headaches. You might have problems with dizziness, extreme confusion, mental confusion. A lot of women actually experience nervous breakdowns during postmenopause and don't actually know that is a nervous breakdown that they get. But you go to the doctor and then they're going to recommend you to a psychiatrist, and then they're going to diagnose you and tell you that you have either bipolar or you're schizophrenic. When that is not the case, what you really have is serious hormonal disruption, which actually cause serious central nervous system problems, which in turn cause almost something similar to a nervous breakdown. And as a result of that, your body is not able to cope with it. So how do you correct that? By dealing with the root cause of the problem. And that is where Batson and Associates is concerned. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Miss Marcia Letrin. She says, good night, Dr. Batson. Welcome. Have a blessed night. Same to you, my dear. Miss Elizabeth Mary says, thank you very much for providing that answer. It's always better coming from the doctor. We appreciate you. You're very welcome. Yeah, and I am a huge advocate of activity and remaining active, especially as you tend to get a little more mature, simply because of how important it is. I'll give you an example. Do you know that astronauts, when you go into space, if you're an astronaut, there are specific exercises that astronauts have to do on a regular, in fact, daily basis to ensure that they maintain their bone density? Do you know why? When you are in space, remember, you don't have gravity, right? So one of the advantages of gravity is that gravity keeps your bones very dense. And the reason for that is just from simple walking. So just by the process of walking, you actually maintain proper musculoskeletal health. And this is something that a lot of persons do not understand, because it's quite unfortunate that sometimes a lot of doctors tell you that if you have arthritis, like rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and those different forms of arthritis, that you should not exercise. Listen to me, that is bad, terrible advice. We're not saying to go and join a gym and go and do bench press and, do squats and all. We're not saying to do that, What we're saying to you is that you need to be active. Do some sort of stretching. If it is you are confined, to a bed, if you are in a situation where your mobility is challenged, obviously, as an arthritis patient, then there are things that we can do to help you in that situation as well. But what I'm saying to you, do not reach the point where you remain completely to the point of immobility, where you can now end up in a situation where your musculoskeletal system is seriously compromised. Good. So even if you're dealing with things like osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, that is something we deal with quite successfully at Batson and Associates. We actually have this product here, the Magnesium 90. This is actually a liquid magnesium that we use. A lot of persons now going about magnesium. But a lot of people do not know that not everyone could use magnesium. And there are different types of magnesium that may not necessarily be for a specific person based on the condition that they have. And that's why I tell persons that as a trained consultant in integrative medicine, these are the things that you know, these are the things that you learn, these are the things that experience gives you, so that you're actually able to help persons, but help them successfully so that they can get the results that they are looking for. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Ms. Joan Williams Roach. She says, good night to the best doctor. Thank you so very much. A pleasure having you. So again, we are discussing health from a natural and integrated perspective. We are discussing hormonal disruption in women. Of course, any questions that you have, feel free to give us those questions or send those questions for us as it relates to what we are discussing. So there are some questions that we would have gotten before, so I will entertain some of those questions. So one of the questions that was asked, and this we actually got this from one of our Instagram followers. as regards to this program. They're not able to join us, but one of the questions that they ask is, right, so they want to know if adenomyosis is a cause of hormonal disruption. And the answer is yes. For those of you who do not know what adenomyosis is, it is a situation where you almost have the uterus actually growing in the outside, or you could actually have a situation where the individuals are actually, or that particular the uterus, sorry, has serious challenges, and that could be caused by a number of issues. So things like adenomyosis, fibroids, polycystic ovaries, ovarian cysts, endometriosis, and those type of diseases. It is very easy for those type of diseases to really cause or caused by serious hormonal disruption. So that is definitely something that you could need to pay close attention to. So the answer is yes. Hormonal disruption can actually be caused by, or adenomyosis can actually be caused by hormonal disruption. Okay, good. So with that being said, one of the things that we're going to do is we're just going to take a short break here, and I'm going to return to you guys shortly. So just excuse us 1 minute while we just clarify something here. Yeah, guys. Okay. So sorry about that. That was just something I was getting some clarification on. Good. So let me say a good evening to Miss Anne Leger, Miss Samantha Babwa. She says, "Good night, Doc. How to treat dropping and thinning of the hair?" Oh, that's a good question. Miss Babwa, the thing is, it depends on the age of the individual. Women who are more mature, especially women who would have gone through menopause, who may be going through menopause, or just before menopause or post menopause, you usually find that they have a lot of problem with thinning hair because of the hormonal challenges. What I normally tell persons as regards to improving thinning hair grows from inside out and not necessarily outside in. So the application, you need to have some sort of application to the hair externally. I'm a huge advocate of a lot of the natural things for your hair, things like coconut oil. What I would say, one of the things we do carry at Batson and Associates is a product called Women's Formula, which is actually this product here. And what Women's Formula actually has the ability to do is actually it balances the endocrine system. Now, a lot of persons with thinning hair, women with thinning hair, actually are women who have hormonal imbalance. Okay, age 30 and has polycystic ovaries, right? So in order for that hair to grow thick and nice, you have to correct the hormonal imbalance challenge. You also going to have to do some work on the gastrointestinal system, because all women who have polycystic ovarian syndrome have gastrointestinal imbalance. Okay, so and I always tell persons I am almost I mean, of course, um, being a male, the hormonal the hormonal situation is different. But I mean, as regards to having or wanting very thick hair, it starts from inside out. So the thing is, a lot of persons will go and purchase supplements, but the thing is, does your body have the ability to actually absorb or assimilate the supplements that you're taking in? Whether it's vitamins, minerals, enzymes, phytonutrients, whatever the case may be. I'm a huge advocate of nutrition. You know, it really annoys me greatly when I hear professionals, especially doctors, actually criticizing or bad talking supplements, simply because they do not know. I mean, at the end of the day, supplements is just that. It is to supplement your base diet. The problem is a lot of persons, your base diet is void of a number of things based on what a lot of us, a lot of persons actually eat. So in other words, what you find with a lot of individuals is that they are actually deficient in a lot of macronutrients and micronutrients. So for example, there are people who would take vitamins. You might take a multivitamin, which is good, excellent. I am, of course, very brand specific. And that's when the politics comes in, because I know what I use for the years that I've been doing what I've been doing, and the experience that I have, and knowledge based on practical knowledge as well as theoretical knowledge. So, I often tell persons that, you have to feed the body and ensure that, a wise man once said, to eat is human, but to digest is divine. So that just goes to tell you. So he says to eat is human, but to digest is divine. So there are a lot of persons who eat, but your food is not broken down. And that's why we have a product that we use called Digestive Restore, which actually helps in breaking down the food. So people who have problems with things like acid reflux, bloating, because once you have acid reflux, your food doesn't digest properly. Once you have things like Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, any sort of inflammatory bowel condition, you're in real problems. You in real problems. Leaky gut syndrome, and worse yet, God help you. That's even worse. Okay, so to the question, Ms. Babwa, you can treat that, but we're going to have to see some tests for you in order to correct that situation. And as I said, if you have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, then definitely you need to pay very close attention to that. Okay, Miss Alicia Romain says, how can ovarian cysts be broken down naturally? Ovarian cysts can be broken down naturally. It has a lot to do with your diet. It also has a lot to do with, again, balancing hormones. So if you have an ovarian cyst, which is quite easy, ovarian cysts are very common. You have different types of cysts. You have Nobotian cysts, and cysts can be caused for a number of reasons. The thing is, when you have cysts, very common and very large cysts, that is when it becomes very problematic. As relates to what we do at Batson and Associates to really correct that situation, there are a number of things. You have the women's formula is something that you could look at. There's a product that we usually carry called Uterine Plus. Very good product. That is actually a detox for the uterus. It's one of the most popular products that we have. And it is something designed for things like polycystic ovarian cysts, ovarian cysts, endometriosis, which is thickening of the uterine lining. So women who have very painful menstrual cycle, irregular menstrual cycle, definitely the women's formula, definitely the Uterine Plus is also a product that you can use as well. Okay, Miss Kati Samaru says, a pleasant good night, Dr. Batson. Pleasant good night to you as well. Miss Samantha Babwa says, Doc, can I use the female formula and breastfeed a 2-year-old? Yeah, you can. Yeah. That product will actually help you in terms of making, in terms of healthier, in terms of proper breast milk production. And there are things that you can use. There are a lot of products that we carry that women could use during pregnancy and breastfeeding. One of the advantages with Batson and Associates, and this is no boast, believe me, it's coming from a place of humility, is because of the training that we have, especially myself, and a lot of the consultants that work with us, is, we know our stuff. We know to dot our I's, we know to cross our T's. That's why we have so many clients with so many testimonies, and we have such a good track record with a lot of the people that we deal with, a lot of the clients that we have. Okay? You're very welcome, Miss Romaine. Miss Christine May, who says, is the women's formula to be used every month? It can be, Miss Megu, it depends on why you're using it. So let's say a female has a serious problem as it relates to serious hormonal challenges. So let's say a lot of times what we may recommend, Miss Megu, is that for the first few bottles, like maybe the first 2 bottles or 3 bottles, depending on the situation that the female has. So everybody's different and it depends on what we're dealing with. We would recommend that you use it every month for maybe like about 4 to 6 months. Subsequent to that, now you could actually do a maintenance where you actually use it once every 2 days or maybe once every 3 days, depending on your age, depending on your requirements, that type of thing. Okay, in 30s with stage 4 endometriosis, yeah. In a case like that, you would have to use it every month. In terms of the endometriosis situation, definitely the uterine formula is something to look at there. We're going to have to add some other things to that protocol. So I don't know when was the last time you had a review without me asking you all your business here. But of course, definitely, if you need to have a review with myself, you can always let me know and we could dot our I's and cross our T's, especially if you're dealing with endometriosis. Because endometriosis is I wouldn't say it's a ticklish fella, but it's a troublesome issue. But once you balance the hormones, because that's what causes the problems, the hormonal disruption, and the hormonal disruption is actually caused by the endocrine imbalance. Very, very important. Remember, your endocrine system is the system that deals with what? Your glands. So your endocrine systems are your thyroid. I spoke about thyroid health earlier. So thyroid, parathyroid, pituitary, adrenal. So those glands, your pituitary gland is actually a master gland. A lot of people do not know that. So it means that, excuse me, that pituitary gland actually plays a significant role in maintaining health and, of course, assisting persons to be healthy from that specific aspect, especially dealing with endometriosis. Endometriosis is not something to play with. Fibroids, I always tell persons, is not something to play with. A lot of women develop fibroids and they can become very problematic. We have successfully helped persons gotten rid of fibroids. You can't get rid of fibroids without surgery, but it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of discipline because women with fibroids cannot use certain types of foods because those foods now actually fuel the environment that is now conducive to creating high levels of inflammation and inflammatory response, which actually make it very easy for these women to end up with sickness or issues associated with hormonal imbalance challenges. Ms. Anne-Marie Phillips says, "Good night, Dr. Batson. I'm listening to you from Queens, New York. I am hyperactive. My ankle started swelling about a year ago. It started when the weather changed in summer. Now it is daily, as long as I am on my feet. My physicians put me on cholesterol medication. I do not take it because of the various side effects. What can I use in place of that medication? I would like to call and have a consultation with you or one of your associates. Thank you." Okay, no problem. Miss Phillips, we will address that situation for you. What you can do for us too as well is make sure you have your various blood tests, or if you did any scans like MRI, CTs, and those type of things at your disposal, so that we could be able to review. What you could also, hypertensive. Oh, okay, good. Hypertensive. Sorry. Okay, so what I was saying is that the telephone number there, which is this number, is 314-9975. You could actually WhatsApp this number. You could do that tonight if you want, and just put the message stating who you are, where you're from, and what you require us to do for you. Well, they'll know it's an international consultation, and we'll actually book. So the consultants will do the consultation, and I will do the review for you. Okay, but let us help you with that situation, my dear. Okay, Miss Tisha Dowlat says, "Good night. What help can I get with balancing perimenopausal hormone and help lose weight?" Okay, Miss Dowlat, I don't know where you're messaging us from, if you're in Trinidad or in the Caribbean or internationally, and to help lose weight. Yeah, so that help lose weight situation there, and that's what I was saying. So the perimenopausal situation, that is what we're discussing. So what I could tell you, Miss Dowlat, depending on the symptomology that you're experiencing, we need to do some work with you. So the first thing I always tell clients is that you need to have your live blood analysis and your dry blood analysis done at the offices. If we do not have that, so if we're dealing with someone who is outside, who is overseas, well, then we would basically work with what we can work with. But once we have the ability to deal with you here, I want that test done on you. And the reason for that, as I said, is we need to see your biological terrain, because that biological terrain gives us an indication. Because blood is life. Blood is the greatest witness. I always tell people, blood tells past, present, and future. So, you know, that blood analysis, that magnetic resonance analysis can, and let us do at least a consultation on you with that, and we would be able to help you in that situation. Because hormonal disruption in women can vary from different levels and different degrees. We might get someone who is a level 1 being the best. And we could have someone that is a level 20, which is the worst of the worst. So it means now we have to determine what level you at, what we're dealing with, and then, of course, we're able to help you. Because remember, and this has happened on numerous occasions, we could deal with person A, and they get a certain amount of results, a certain amount of, and we deal with person B now, who has the similar type of symptomology, but their issues are way more. They might be, you know, someone, they might have diabetes. Additionally, they might have high blood pressure. They might have a situation where they may have been asthmatic for years, and as a result of being asthmatic, they may have been recommended corticosteroids, so things like prednisolone, and they have used that for years to manage their asthma, and as a result of that, they may have some issues associated with that. They may have gotten steroid-induced diabetes, they may have gotten various respiratory problems, maybe have gotten different issues. So the point I'm making is not everybody, we are the same, but we're not the same, and it's very important that we do our various tests and assessments on you, so that we're actually able to work with you from a holistic and an integrated perspective. That's very, very important. So again, keep in mind that symposium that we're having, that symposium is taking place on Sunday, the 25th of August. Excuse me, that's Sunday, the 25th of August, at our Montrose office. That's the Montrose office is located at number 182 Montrose Main Road. And you can look out for that registration link. You can also call those telephone numbers listed below for Batson and Associates. That's head office, 222-8261. That's 222-8261, as well as 314. That's 314-9975. Oh, Ms. Dowlat, okay, Trinidad, yeah. So to give you the results that you really want, my dear, give us a visit. Give us a visit. I guarantee you it would not be a waste of your time. Let us help you. Because as I said, that's the reason why I wanted to do this 4-part symposium, and now 5-part lecture, where we talk about hormonal disruption in women. Because ladies, as I said, this hormonal disruption thing is so terrible. Let me give you an example, because we almost about to finish. We go till about 9:15. And then we'll finish at 9:15, God's willing. Let me tell you how bad this hormonal disruption is. There was this client that came to us, and the client came to us at a particular point, and she actually came to us for high blood pressure. She had uncontrollable hypertension. It was ridiculous. 200 and something over 1 something, 198, 175 over 110. Watch me, that's crazy high blood pressure. And anyone who is a physician knows that someone who is having that elevated blood pressure for extended period of time could end up with serious renal problems. You could end up with problems where you actually significantly damage the kidneys. You could end up in a situation where you have serious problems as it relates to to that whole situation with hormonal disruption. So the thing is, when we did our tests and we looked at the results off the bat, I was able to tell her, I say, you know why you have problems with your blood pressure? The reason why you have this problem with your blood pressure is because you have serious hormonal imbalance. So the thing is, if you have a serious hormonal imbalance challenge, that is going to further exacerbate or cause high blood pressure. Now look at the link. Going to the doctors for a number of years. I think she had the problem with the high blood pressure for about 4 years. For years. Different medications, nothing is working. The blood pressure is just behaving terribly. Whenever they change the medication, it would go down. So I think they started on nifedipine, that worked for a while. Then it stopped working. Then they had to add a diuretic. So they add something like Menstrual or one of the other ones, Lasik. So they was using a high blood, the nifedipine and the Lasik. Then they had to add a next hypertension medication. So she was up to about 4 high blood pressure medication. And I mean, anyone who understands anatomy and physiology knows that there's too much stress on your kidneys, too much stress on your heart, too much stress on your intestines. So, you know, we were actually, able to help her when we were able to assess the situation properly. So that is a perfect example of what it is I'm explaining. A lot of women with hormonal disruption, because there are some women who don't get hot flashes. There are some women who don't get hypertension. There are some women who do not get vaginal dryness. There are some women who get all. There are some women who do not get the panic attacks. Some women would get the nervousness. Some women get the weakness in their legs, when there are some women who do not get weakness in their legs. There are some women who get that trembling. There are some women who do not sleep, but there are some women who sleep. So that hormonal disruption, situation is a situation where it can cause so many different issues with different women. And that is why it is important that we assess you properly so that we give you the results. If it's one thing we pride ourselves on, is getting our clients results. Once you follow instruction, you get results. There's a client we had recently who came to us with serious hormonal disruption for years. And she and her husband were trying to conceive. Nothing was happening. And now she is well along, more than 4 months pregnant. I was so happy for her because she was a really nice person, in the sense that, not that I'm saying that we don't get nice persons, but you see, the thing is, when you're coming to get help, especially in this aspect of your health, this is your health you're talking about, you know. There isn't anybody on this live or anybody that I have known that do not understand that your health is your wealth. Trinidad and Tobago continues to have a serious issue as it relates to health, and our health is not getting better as a nation. Let me say a pleasant good evening to Miss Pamela Moses. How are you doing, my dear? Pleasant good night to you. Yeah, they're not doing good. We have high levels of women now with ovarian cancer. Before breast cancer was more popular, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer. High now. What do you think? You think that those cancers started as cancer? No. They started as hormonal imbalance. They started as things like polycystic ovaries, irregular menstrual cycle, painful menstrual cycle. Why do you think women after menopause, long after menopause, end up with bleeding? There are some, I had a client, or I know of a case, I should say rather, of a 75-year-old woman who just started bleeding, just like that. And the reason that that happened was because of hormonal disruption. So ladies, my advice to you is that once the good Lord has you breathing, once you're drawing breath, after Almighty God, make sure and take care of yourself. I always tell persons that. There's a financial consequence to everything. Everybody is telling you about money, and we understand that. We know, you know what's going on right now. Everybody balling. Everybody. School opening just now. Just now, parents have to buy books. You know how school is be. But at the end of the day, you are the person who have to be around to take care of those children, to take care of your family. So invest something in you. And that's why I always try to help my clients to understand. They say, Dr. Batson, you know, what do you take? I take almost everything in the back here with the exception of the products for women. I use the digestive restore, I use the prostate formula, I use the nerve restore, but I don't have diabetes, so I don't use the blood sugar complex. I use the magnesium 90. I use the advanced chlorophyll. Circulation regeneration tea, I use the tea. It's a very nice, it's a tea I like. I really, really like that tea. I don't have any problem with hypertension, but of course I operate in a high stress environment with my work and everything that I have to do. So I operate in a high stress environment by trying not to get stressed. And those are some of the things that I use. I always tell people Nerve Restore I did Nerve Restore for me. I did that product for me first because I wanted to improve my quality of sleep and I wanted to help people sleep better because I know that there are a lot of people who put out so much. They work, they take care of their families. They are people who in managerial positions and you're sick. And that same job that you have, that same person that you have to take care of, God forbid if anything happens to you and you leave this earth, the world will continue going as it is. You know, there's a saying, a living dog is better than a dead lion. A living dog is better than a dead lion. You'll catch the heights in that, right? So it is vitally important that you take care of yourself. When you come to Batson and Associates, we give you the ability to do that. Even if you don't come back to us afterwards, we give you some sort of information that you're able to help yourself consistently. Remember, you have to maintain good health. Just like you have to maintain your vehicle, you have to service it, you have to change your filter, you have to change your oil. When last you changed your oil? We're talking to the ladies tonight here, but of course, we're not forgetting the men. Men, when last you change your oil? I'm going to do a 4-part series, or, well, I don't know if it's going to be 4-part. Most likely it'll be about 2 parts for men after we do this hormonal disruption for women. Because there are men out there who suffering from low testosterone and you don't even know. You don't even know. Because if you have low testosterone, you'll have problems maintaining muscle mass. You'll have problems maintaining a healthy erection. You'll have problems getting an erection. And let me tell you something, testosterone injections do not work, at least long term. They just give you a boost and then it goes back down. What you have to do is help to balance your body and put things in such a way that you are now producing testosterone the way that you're supposed to. We know as we get older, as men, you're going to have some little challenges, just like anybody else, as you tend to get older. However, what you have to understand is the ability to be able to maintain good health. So, ladies, if you have hormonal disruption, if you have young ladies, school is out, so you can actually bring, if you have a child, a young lady who has problems with hormonal disruption, has serious problems with her menstrual cycle, Batson and Associates is the place. I can guarantee you, once you follow the instruction that we give you, you're going to get results. Your daughter going to get results. Because there are too many young ladies here with this polycystic ovarian syndrome. There are too many young ladies with this hormonal imbalance. And I'm saying to you, with hormonal disruption, especially in older women, these women reach a point where it actually becomes so bad, it could actually become suicidal. Suicidal. And that is something that, ladies, you need to pay attention to. Take care of yourself. There is too much information out here. Too much. And the thing is, we have a lot of information, so I know sometimes it's a little frustrating because it's like analysis paralysis. You don't know who to talk to, you don't know who to listen to. But I think for the length of time some of you have been listening to me and to Batson Associates, you'll realize we know what we're doing. We're not stupid. We have a little challenges we're dealing with, as rightfully so, that's life. But we know what we're doing and we're out here to help persons. So, ladies, if you have a hormonal disruption problem, you have a problem with polycystic ovaries, fibroids, ovarian cysts, you know, somebody who wants to conceive, that sometimes is be tricky, but thank God we have a really good track record where that is concerned. Fibroids, ovarian cysts, endometriosis, menopause, problems with post-menopause, with sleeping problems, insomnia, problems with anxiety, depression, the list goes on and on and on. Feel free to give us a check at Batson Associates. Keep in mind, we always have open clinic days where you can actually see a consultant. Any review that you need with myself, it is just a review in the sense that all tests are done by the senior consultants. Okay? and then I do the review. So I often tell you it's easier to come, have your test done, at least start the ball rolling. Start the ball rolling. It's a system we have in place, because if you sit down and say you're waiting to see Dr. Batson, you're going to have appointments, you're going to meet some problems. Okay, so help us to help you. Those telephone numbers again and locations. We are located on the first floor of Money Talks building. That's Money Talks building in Montrose, Chaguanas. That telephone number again is 222-8261. It's below there. 222-8261, as well as 314-9975. Again, that's 314-9975. You can WhatsApp us. Keep in mind our health symposium taking place at our Chaguanas office. So all those persons in the central area, that health symposium taking place Sunday, the 25th of August, and that's at 182 Montrose Main Road, Chaguanas. That is our Chaguanas office. Keep in mind, we have that nerve restore on special right now. Those of you in Tobago, I understand we do not have in Tobago, but Tobago is going to get stuff very shortly before the month is out. So we're going to ensure that we do that for you. Also, check out our women's formula, that product that helps with hormonal imbalance, and it can be used by a female who is not pregnant, sorry, but who is actually nursing. Because I know a lot of ladies, even the Santulan, when we get back in stock, that's a product that even nursing women could actually use. Okay. In addition to that as well, keep in mind that this month is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. So those of you, it's always important to take care of you up here. And that's one of the reasons why we have the Nerve Restore. So take care of yourself. Ensure that you make your calls, make your appointments, have your blood analysis done. The thing is, we could take one drop of blood. People don't understand how amazing anatomy and physiology is. I love the human body. I love anatomy and physiology. The body just amazes me as regards to what the body has the ability to do. Do you know you get new red blood cells every 4 months? Every 120 days, you get new red blood cells. You get new bones. These bones that you have, you get new bones every 2 years. 2 to 4 years, you get new bones. The entire musculoskeletal system change. The hair that you have on your head now, that's not the hair you're born with. I only have locks 4 years now. 4 years now. Before that, I used to cut my hair. Right? Your beard just grow when you cut it. Your hair is supposed to grow. One of the ways to know how healthy you are, watch how your hair just grow. You see your fingernails too? That's the next thing to show. Just this morning, I had to cut mine. Nails grow very quickly. All those are indications of the level of health that you experience or that you have to enjoy. Miss Melville, yes, the discount is, and I said that, I don't know if you had heard me, I said, we will honor the discount for anyone who would have come for the Nerve Restore and we didn't have in stock. We will still honor the discount for you subsequent to even though the time would have passed, which is at the end of this month. Okay, because we didn't have it in stock and you did go for the product. All right, Miss Melville. Okay, guys. So again, keep in mind those telephone numbers and locations. We are located on the first floor of Money Talks building in Montrose, Chaguanas. Debe is the corner of Ramsonwood Trace and the SS Erin Main Road in Debe. We also have Red Edge Mall, Western Main Road, St. James, and Tobago is the Triangle building in Scarborough, Tobago. You have been listening to Dr. Jason Batson, the Senior Medical Director at Batson and Associates, where we support your health naturally. Keep in mind, on next Monday, God's willing, we're going to have a next segment where we discuss hormonal disruption, and that is going to begin from, it really was supposed to start at 8:30. We started a little earlier today, but I did cover the necessary time for you guys, and of course, any questions that you may have that you didn't ask, you can ask for the next program, next Monday, God's willing. Okay? As we always say at Batson and Associates, if you think health is expensive, try sickness. If you think education is expensive, try ignorance. God bless you guys. To everyone who asked the questions, Donna Franklin says very informative. I'm glad to hear that. Miss Melville from Tobago, I do apologize again about your Nerve Restore, my dear, but we will get it for you. And Miss Marge Hill, she says, thank you, Doc. Have a pleasant night. And pleasant night to all. So all those of you who are on the live, like it, share it, tell someone, because as I said, this hormonal disruption thing is really bad. When a female or any human being could contemplate taking their life, that to me is a very serious thing. I don't play with those things. Okay, guys, so God bless. Take care and do enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Stay blessed. Be blessed. Take care, guys.